At Maplewood High School, life moved in its usual rhythm. Students bustled through the hallways between classes, teachers prepared their lessons with care, and the staff worked tirelessly to keep the school running smoothly. Among them was Rosa Alvarez, a hard-working cleaner who had been employed at the school for over a decade. She was known for her warm smile and dedication to her job, often staying late to ensure everything was spotless. But what many didn't know was that Rosa had dreams, not just for herself but for her daughter, Maria. Maria was a shy 15-year-old girl with big brown eyes and an even bigger heart. Unlike most of her classmates, she didn't come from a wealthy family or have access to expensive hobbies. Instead, she spent her free time helping her mother clean classrooms after school. Despite their modest lifestyle, Rosa always encouraged Maria to aim high. "You can be anything you want," Rosa would say, brushing dust off the chalkboards. "Just work hard and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." One afternoon, as Maria swept the floor of the auditorium, something unusual caught her eye. A violin lying forgotten in the corner. It was old, its strings frayed and its surface scratched. But there was something magical about it. Curious, Maria picked it up and ran her fingers along the worn wood. She had never held a musical instrument before, let alone played one, but she felt drawn to it. That evening, she took the violin home, hiding it under her bed so her mother wouldn't ask questions. Over the next few weeks, Maria began teaching herself how to play. Using videos she found online and scraps of sheet music borrowed from the school library, she practiced late into the night. Her room became her sanctuary, filled with the soft strains of classical melodies as she stumbled through each note. At first, the sounds were rough and unpolished, but slowly, they started to take shape. Maria discovered a hidden talent within herself, a natural ear for music and a determination to master the instrument. Meanwhile, Principal Thomas Grayson was preparing for the annual school assembly. Known for his sharp wit and sometimes biting humor, he liked to keep things lively during these events. This year's theme was Hidden Talents, where students were encouraged to showcase skills they might not normally share with others. As he reviewed the list of participants, he noticed Maria's name among those signed up for the after-school music program. He chuckled to himself, thinking it must have been a clerical error. After all, everyone knew Maria was the cleaner's daughter. Hardworking, yes, but not exactly someone you'd expect to excel in the arts. On the day of the assembly, the gymnasium buzzed with excitement. Students filed in, chatting animatedly about who might surprise them with a hidden talent. When Principal Grayson stepped onto the stage, the chatter died down, and all eyes turned to him. With a grin, he welcomed everyone and began introducing the various acts lined up for the event. Then, almost casually, he mentioned Maria. "Speaking of surprises," he said, his tone lighthearted, "I hear we've got a budding musician in our midst. Maria Alvarez, the daughter of our very own Mrs. Alvarez, has apparently taken up the violin. Now I'm sure she'll charm us all with her unique interpretation of Vivaldi." The audience erupted in laughter, some students giggling nervously while others exchanged amused glances. No one expected much from this announcement. It seemed more like a joke than anything serious. Maria, sitting quietly in the crowd, felt her cheeks burn. She wanted to disappear into her seat, but instead she sat up straighter, gripping the edges of her chair. While part of her felt hurt by the principal's dismissive comment, another part stirred with defiance. Deep down, she knew she could prove him wrong. She wasn't just the cleaner's daughter. She was someone with dreams and abilities waiting to be recognized. As the assembly continued, Maria barely paid attention to the other performances. Her mind raced with thoughts of the battered violin hidden under her bed and the countless hours she'd spent practicing in secret. She thought about her mother, who always believed in her no matter what, and the sacrifices they'd both made to give her a better future. For the first time, Maria realized that maybe this wasn't just about proving the principal wrong. It was about showing herself and everyone else that she was capable of greatness. By the time the assembly ended, Maria had made up her mind. She wouldn't let Principal Grayson's words define her. If anything, they only fueled her determination to succeed. Little did anyone know, including the principal himself, that Maria's journey was just beginning. and it would lead to something truly extraordinary. Maria walked home that afternoon with her head held high, though her heart still carried the weight of Principal Grayson's words. The laughter from the assembly echoed in her mind, but instead of letting it crush her spirit, she used it as, well, she knew deep down that she had something special, a talent she'd been nurturing in secret for months. Still, the sting of being dismissed so casually by someone in authority lingered. It wasn't just about proving the principal wrong anymore. It was about showing herself and everyone else that she was more than what they assumed. When Maria reached her small apartment, she found her mother, Rosa, busy folding laundry at the kitchen table. Rosa looked up when her daughter entered, immediately noticing the mix of emotions on Maria's face. "What happened, mija?" she asked gently, setting aside a neatly folded shirt. "You seem upset." Maria hesitated before speaking. She didn't want to burden her mother with her problems, especially since Rosa worked so hard to provide for them. But as she sat down across from her mom, the words tumbled out. "Principal Grayson made fun of me today," she said quietly, staring at her hands. "He joked about me playing the violin during the assembly, like it was some kind of joke." Rosa's expression hardened. She had always respected Principal Grayson as a fair and competent leader, but hearing how he treated her daughter angered her. "That wasn't right," she said firmly. "No one should talk to you like that. You're not a joke, Maria." Maria nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I know, Mama, but I think maybe I should show him. Show everyone. Maybe, if I actually play at the talent show, they'll see I'm serious." Rosa leaned forward, placing a comforting hand over Maria's. "If that's what you want to do, then do it. Not for them, but for yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel small. If you believe in your music, no one can take that away from you." Her mother's words struck a chord in Maria. For so long she had kept her passion hidden, afraid of judgment or failure. Now, faced with the choice to step into the spotlight or retreat into the shadows, she chose courage. That evening, Maria pulled out her battered violin and began practicing with renewed determination. She played late into the night, pouring every ounce of emotion into each note. Her fingers moved deftly along the strings, coaxing melodies that seemed to echo through the walls of their tiny apartment. The next day at school, whispers followed Maria wherever she went. Some students teased her, saying things like, "Are you really going to play? This is going to be good." Others watched curiously, wondering if she would actually go through with it. Even teachers seemed skeptical. Mr. Carter, the stern music teacher who rarely smiled, approached Maria during lunch break. "I heard about the principal's comment," he said gruffly. "If you're planning to perform, you'd better be prepared. Talent shows aren't for amateurs." Maria met his gaze steadily. "I'll be ready," she replied simply, her voice unwavering. As the days passed, Maria threw herself into practice. She spent every spare moment perfecting her pieces, choosing challenging compositions like Vivaldi's Spring and Bach's Air on the G string. These were difficult pieces, far beyond what most beginners attempted, but Maria refused to settle for anything less than excellence. Late at night, after finishing her homework, she would sit by the window, the soft glow of a desk lamp illuminating her sheet music. Outside, the city buzzed with life, but inside, Maria's world revolved around the violin. One evening, as Maria practiced, Rosa peeked into her room. Watching her daughter play with such intensity brought tears to her eyes. Rosa remembered the sacrifices they had made, the long hours she worked to put food on the table, the second-hand clothes Maria wore without complaint. Yet here was Maria, turning adversity into art, transforming their struggles into something beautiful. Rosa silently vowed to support her daughter no matter what. Word of Maria's dedication spread throughout the school. A few classmates noticed her carrying the violin case to and from class, and rumors began circulating about whether she truly intended to perform. Some doubted her abilities, assuming she was bluffing. Others admired her persistence, even if they didn't say it aloud. Among them was Sophia, a quiet girl who shared several classes with Maria. One afternoon, Sophia approached her timidly. "I heard you're going to play at the talent show," Sophia said, fidgeting with the strap of her backpack. That's really brave. Maria shrugged, trying to act nonchalant. We'll see how it goes. No, seriously, Sophia insisted. Most people wouldn't have the guts to try after what Principal Grayson said. I think it's awesome. For the first time, in days, Maria felt a flicker of hope. Maybe not everyone was against her. Maybe there were people rooting for her, even if they didn't say it outright. Despite the growing support, Maria couldn't shake the pressure building inside her. What if she failed? What if everyone laughed when she took the stage? Doubts crept in, threatening to derail her confidence. But whenever she felt overwhelmed, she reminded herself why she was doing this. It wasn't just about silencing the critics. It was about proving to herself that she could rise above circumstances that tried to hold her back. On the morning of the talent show auditions, Maria woke up early, her stomach churning with nerves. She dressed carefully, tying her hair back, and slipping the violin case over her shoulder. As she left the apartment, Rosa hugged her tightly. Remember, Mija, Rosa whispered, this is your moment. Believe in yourself, and everything else will fall into place. At school, the atmosphere was electric. Students gathered in the auditorium, chatting excitedly about the upcoming performances. When Maria arrived, she could feel dozens of eyes on her. Some looks were curious, others mocking, but she focused on the task ahead. Backstage, she tuned her violin one last time, her hands trembling slightly. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, visualizing the notes she had practiced countless times. Finally, it was her turn. As Maria stepped onto the stage, the chatter in the auditorium faded into silence. The spotlight illuminated her, casting a warm glow over the worn wood of her violin. For a brief moment, she froze, her heart pounding in her chest. Then she raised the bow to the strings and began to play. The first notes rang out, clear and pure, filling the room with an unexpected beauty. Gasps rippled through the audience as Maria's skill became apparent. Her performance was flawless, each note flowing seamlessly into the next. The melody soared, wrapping itself around the listeners like a gentle embrace. By the time she finished, the auditorium was utterly silent, until applause erupted, thunderous and heartfelt. Maria stood there stunned, as the reality of what she had accomplished sank in. She hadn't just proven Principal Grayson wrong. She had shown everyone, including herself, that she was capable of greatness. And in that moment, she realized that her journey was only beginning. The applause that followed Maria's audition was deafening, but it felt surreal to her. For a few seconds, she stood frozen on the stage, clutching her violin tightly as if afraid it might slip from her grasp. Her heart raced, not just from the performance, but from the overwhelming realization that she had done it. She had silenced every doubter in the room. The mocking whispers, the snickers, and the dismissive comments were now replaced by cheers and clapping so loud it seemed to shake the walls of the auditorium. Slowly, Maria lowered her bow and took a small step back, bowing slightly to acknowledge the audience. Her cheeks flushed red, not from embarrassment this time, but from pride. She scanned the crowd, her eyes landing briefly on Sophia, who was beaming at her with a thumbs up. Then she spotted Rosa, sitting quietly near the back, tears streaming down her face as she clapped harder than anyone else. Seeing her mother's reaction brought an unexpected lump to Maria's throat. All those late nights practicing, all the sacrifices they had made together, it had led to this moment. But there was one person whose reaction Maria couldn't ignore: Principal Grayson. He stood at the edge of the stage, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. At first glance, he appeared stoic, almost unimpressed. But Maria noticed something else, a flicker of surprise, perhaps even guilt, in his eyes. It was subtle, but it was enough to tell her that her performance had struck a nerve. Whether it was admiration or regret, she couldn't say for sure, but it didn't matter. She had proven herself, and that was all that counted. As Maria stepped off the stage, students and teachers alike rushed to congratulate her. Some patted her on the back, others offered hugs, and a few simply stared in awe, unable to find words. Mr. Carter, The stern music teacher, who had earlier questioned her abilities, approached her with a rare smile. "Well," he said gruffly, though his tone carried a hint of respect, "I underestimated you, Miss Alvarez. That was impressive." Maria nodded politely, still trying to process everything that had happened. "Thank you, sir," she replied softly. Inside, she felt a mix of emotions: relief, joy, and a quiet determination to keep pushing forward. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Later that afternoon, word of Maria's audition spread like wildfire through the school. Students who hadn't been present during the performance heard about it from their friends, and soon, everyone wanted to know more. Social media buzzed with videos and photos taken during the audition. Comments flooded in, ranging from supportive messages to astonished exclamations about how wrong people had been about her. Even some teachers admitted they had doubted her, confessing among themselves that Maria's talent was undeniable. Principal Grayson found himself caught in the middle of it all. As news of Maria's triumph reached parents and alumni, calls and emails poured into the school office, praising her achievement and expressing interest in supporting her musical journey. But for Grayson, the praise directed toward Maria served as a stark reminder of his own misstep. His careless comment during the assembly had not only hurt Maria, but also painted him in a negative light. Now he faced a choice: ignore the situation and move on, or take responsibility and make amends. That evening, Grayson sat alone in his office, replaying the events of the day in his mind. He thought about Maria standing on the stage, her confidence radiating despite the odds stacked against her. He remembered the way the audience erupted in applause, the sheer astonishment on their faces when they realized how talented she truly was, and most of all, he recalled the brief moment when their eyes met after her performance, the look of quiet defiance that told him she knew exactly what she had accomplished. Grayson sighed heavily, rubbing his temples. He prided himself on being a fair and compassionate leader, yet here he was, guilty of underestimating a student based on stereotypes. "I messed up," he muttered to himself. "Big time." Determined to set things right, Grayson decided to speak with Maria personally. The next morning, he called her into his office. When she arrived, she looked nervous, unsure of why she had been summoned. Grayson gestured for her to sit, then cleared his throat awkwardly. "Maria," he began, his voice unusually soft, "I owe you an apology." Maria blinked in surprise, unsure of what to say. She hadn't expected this, not from Principal Grayson, whose demeanor was usually so authoritative. Encouraged by her silence, he continued. "What I said during the assembly, it was thoughtless and unfair. I made assumptions about you without knowing anything about your abilities or your dedication. I see now that I was wrong, and I'm sorry." For a moment, Maria didn't respond. She studied his face, searching for any sign of insincerity, but all she saw was genuine remorse. Finally, she nodded. "Thank you, sir," she said quietly. "I appreciate the apology." Grayson let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Your performance yesterday was extraordinary," he added. "You have a gift, Maria, one that deserves to be nurtured and supported." He paused, then reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a brochure. Sliding it across the table, he explained, "This is information about the Maplewood Conservatory of Music. They offer advanced lessons and mentorship programs for students with exceptional talent. I'd like to recommend you for a scholarship." Maria picked up the brochure, her hands trembling slightly. The conservatory was renowned for producing world-class musicians, and scholarships were highly competitive. To be considered for one was an honor in itself. "Are you serious?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Completely," Grayson replied with a nod. "You've earned it, and I'll do everything I can to ensure you get the opportunity you deserve." Tears welled up in Maria's eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice thick with emotion. "I won't let you down." Over the next few weeks, Maria threw herself into preparing for the conservatory audition. With guidance from Mr. Carter and encouragement from her mother, She refined her technique and expanded her repertoire. Each practice session pushed her closer to perfection, and her confidence grew with every note she played. Meanwhile, Principal Grayson worked behind the scenes, writing recommendation letters and advocating for Maria's admission to the program. Rosa watched her daughter transform before her eyes. Gone was the shy, uncertain girl who once hesitated to share her dreams. In her place stood a young woman brimming with self-assurance and purpose. "You're amazing, Mija," Rosa told her one evening as they sat together in the living room. "I'm so proud of you," Maria smiled, leaning her head against her mother's shoulder. "We did it together, Mama," she said. "Without you, none of this would have been possible." Finally, the day of the conservatory audition arrived. Maria dressed carefully, choosing a simple yet elegant outfit that made her feel confident. As she walked into the audition hall, she reminded herself of the journey that had brought her here. From the dusty corners of the school auditorium to the spotlight of the talent show. No matter the outcome, she had already achieved something remarkable. When Maria began to play, the judges were captivated. Her performance was flawless, imbued with passion and precision that left them speechless. By the time she finished, the room was silent except for the sound of pens scribbling notes. Though she wouldn't know the results immediately, Maria left the audition feeling a sense of peace. Win or lose, she had given it her all. A week later, the letter arrived. Maria tore it open with trembling hands, her heart pounding as she read the words inside. She had been awarded a full scholarship to the conservatory. Overwhelmed with joy, she ran to her mother, waving the letter triumphantly. "Mama," she cried, "I got in." Rosa hugged her tightly, tears streaming down her face. "You did it, Mija. You really did it." In that moment, Maria realized that her journey was far from over. The road ahead would be challenging, but she was ready. With her talent, her resilience, and the support of those who believed in her, she knew she could achieve anything she set her mind to. And as she looked toward the future, she vowed to never forget where she came from, or the obstacles she had overcome to get here. Maria's acceptance into the Maplewood Conservatory of Music marked a turning point in her life. The scholarship not only provided her access to world-class training, but also opened doors she had never imagined possible. For the first time, she stepped into a space where music wasn't just a hobby, it was a way of life. The conservatory buzzed with energy, its halls filled with the sounds of violins, cellos, pianos, and flutes blending together in a symphony of creativity. Maria felt both excited and intimidated as she navigated this new world, surrounded by students who came from families with deep pockets and connections in the arts. Her first day at the conservatory was overwhelming. She arrived early, clutching her battered violin case tightly, feeling out of place among the polished instruments and designer bags of her peers. Some students glanced at her curiously, while others barely acknowledged her presence. But Maria reminded herself why she was there: to grow, to learn, and to prove that talent could shine regardless of background. Her instructor, Ms. Eleanor Hart, was a renowned violinist known for her strict teaching methods and high standards. During their initial meeting, Ms. Hart listened intently as Maria played a short piece. When she finished, Ms. Hart nodded thoughtfully. "You have raw talent," she said, her voice firm but encouraging. "But talent alone isn't enough. You'll need discipline, focus, and an unrelenting drive to succeed here." Maria took those words to heart. Every practice session became an opportunity to push herself further. She spent hours perfecting techniques, studying sheet music, and experimenting with different styles. Her fingers grew calloused from constant playing, but she didn't mind. The pain was proof of her progress. Slowly but surely, she began earning the respect of her classmates, many of whom initially underestimated her. Meanwhile, back at Maplewood High School, Principal Grayson continued to reflect on his actions. He hadn't forgotten the look in Maria's eyes during their conversation in his office, the quiet strength that told him she wasn't someone to be dismissed. Determined to make amends beyond offering the scholarship recommendation, he decided to champion her cause within the community. At a school board meeting, he proposed creating a fund specifically for underprivileged students pursuing extracurricular activities like music, sports, or art. Talent shouldn't be limited by circumstance, he argued passionately. We owe it to our students to provide opportunities that help them thrive. The proposal was met with enthusiasm, and soon donations poured in from alumni, local businesses, and even parents eager to support the initiative. Named the Alvarez Arts Fund, in honor of Maria and her mother, the program aimed to level the playing field for students who lacked financial resources. It covered everything from instrument rentals to private lessons, ensuring that no student would have to choose between their dreams and their circumstances. Word of Maria's success spread beyond the school walls. Local newspapers featured stories about her journey, highlighting how she overcame adversity to pursue her passion. Readers were inspired by her resilience and determination, and letters of encouragement flooded in from strangers across the city. One letter in particular stood out. It was from a young girl named Lily who wrote, "I want to play the violin too, but my family can't afford lessons. Reading about you makes me believe I can still try. Thank you for showing me that dreams are worth fighting for." Maria read the letter aloud to her mother one evening, her voice trembling with emotion. "Do you see what this means, Mama?" she asked. "If my story can inspire someone else to chase their dreams, then all of this is worth it." Rosa smiled proudly, her eyes glistening with tears. "You've always been special, Mija. But now, you're helping others realize they're special too." As Maria's reputation grew, so did her responsibilities. She was invited to perform at various events around the city, from charity galas to community festivals. Each performance brought new challenges and opportunities, pushing her to refine her craft even further. At one such event, she played alongside professional musicians, including members of the local symphony orchestra. The experience left her awestruck, not only because she held her own among seasoned performers, but also because it reinforced her belief that she belonged in this world. Despite her growing success, Maria remained grounded. She visited Maplewood High School regularly, mentoring younger students who showed interest in music. During these visits, she often crossed paths with Principal Grayson, whose attitude toward her had shifted dramatically. Gone was the sarcastic tone. Instead, he greeted her warmly, asking about her progress and attending her performances whenever possible. Their relationship evolved into one of mutual respect, with Grayson frequently praising Maria's dedication and resilience. "You've taught me more than I ever taught you," he admitted during one of their conversations. "Watching you overcome obstacles has reminded me why I became an educator, to inspire and uplift students, not discourage them." Maria appreciated his honesty and sincerity. While she hadn't forgotten his earlier remarks, she recognized that people could change if given the chance. Forgiveness, she realized, was a powerful tool, one that allowed her to move forward without carrying bitterness. Back home, Rosa continued to work tirelessly as a cleaner, though her role had taken on new meaning. Parents at the school now greeted her with smiles and kind words, thanking her for raising such an inspiring daughter. Though modest, Rosa accepted their praise graciously, always redirecting the attention to Maria. "She's the one who deserves credit," Rosa would say humbly. "All I did was encourage her to keep going." As months turned into years, Maria flourished. Her grades remained strong, and her musical abilities reached new heights. She performed at prestigious venues, earned accolades from critics, and gained recognition as one of the most promising young violinists in the region. Yet through it all, she stayed true to her roots, never forgetting the struggles that shaped her journey. One evening, after a particularly challenging rehearsal, Maria sat alone in her room, reflecting on how far she had come. She thought about the old violin she had found in the school auditorium, the one that started it all, and smiled. That battered instrument had been more than just a tool for learning. It had been a symbol of hope, a reminder that beauty could emerge from brokenness. Maria knew her journey wasn't complete. There were still mountains to climb, challenges to face, and dreams to fulfill. But as she looked ahead, she felt a sense of purpose, a certainty that no matter what lay before her, she had the strength to overcome it. And in that moment, she realized something profound. Her story wasn't just about her. It was about every person who dared to dream against the odds. Years passed, and Maria's journey continued to unfold in ways she could never have imagined. Her hard work, resilience, and passion for music carried her through challenges that would have overwhelmed many others. As she graduated from the Maplewood Conservatory of Music with top honors, she set her sights on an even bigger dream: attending Juilliard, one of the most prestigious music schools in the world. It was a daunting goal, but Maria had learned long ago that fear wasn't something to hold her back. It was something to push through. The application process for Juilliard was grueling. Applicants were required to submit recordings of their performances, write essays about their artistic vision, and undergo rigorous live auditions. For months, Maria poured every ounce of energy into preparing. She practiced tirelessly, often staying up late into the night fine-tuning pieces like Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto and Paganini's Caprice No. 24. These compositions were notoriously difficult, demanding technical precision and emotional depth, qualities Maria knew she had to master if she wanted to stand out among the best young musicians in the country. Her mother, Rosa, watched her daughter's dedication with a mix of pride and concern. "You're working so hard, Mija," Rosa said one evening as Maria took a break from practicing. "But don't forget to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup." Maria smiled, setting her violin down for a moment. "I know, Mama, but this is my chance to show everyone, including myself, that I belong at Juilliard. I have to give it everything I've got." Finally, the day of the audition arrived. Maria traveled to New York City, her heart pounding with anticipation. Walking into the audition hall, she felt the weight of years of effort resting on her shoulders. The panel of judges sat silently, their expressions unreadable as they listened to each candidate perform. When it was Maria's turn, she stepped onto the stage, took a deep breath, and began to play. Her performance was nothing short of breathtaking. From the haunting melodies of Bach's Chaconne to the fiery virtuosity of Sarasate's Zigeunerweisen, Maria captivated the room with every note. Her playing was not just technically flawless, it was deeply expressive, filled with emotion that resonated with everyone present. By the time she finished, there was a brief pause before the judges erupted into applause, their faces lighting up with admiration. Several weeks later, Maria received the letter she had been waiting for. With trembling hands, she opened it and read the words aloud to her mother. "Congratulations, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted into Juilliard." Tears streamed down both their faces as they hugged tightly, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what Maria had achieved. At Juilliard, Maria faced yet another level of competition and scrutiny. Surrounded by prodigies from around the globe, she quickly realized that talent alone wouldn't be enough to succeed. She threw herself into her studies, learning from some of the greatest musicians alive, and collaborating with peers who challenged her to grow. Despite the pressure, she thrived, earning accolades for her performances and developing a unique style that blended classical techniques with modern influences. Throughout her time at Juilliard, Maria remained connected to her roots. She returned to Maplewood High School whenever she could, speaking to students about the importance of perseverance and believing in oneself. Her visits became legendary, inspiring countless young people to pursue their passions despite obstacles. Many students confided in her, sharing their fears and doubts, and Maria always responded with kindness and encouragement. "Life will test you," she told them during one assembly, "but those tests are opportunities to prove how strong you really are." Principal Grayson, now nearing retirement, attended several of these assemblies. Watching Maria speak with such grace and wisdom filled him with pride and a lingering sense of gratitude. He often reflected on how much he had learned from her, not just as an educator but as a person. "She changed me," he admitted to a colleague once. "Before Maria, I thought I understood what it meant to support students. Now I realize that true leadership means seeing potential where others see limits and giving people the tools to rise above." Maria's success also brought attention to the Alvarez Arts Fund, which had grown significantly since its inception. Thanks to increased awareness and donations, The program expanded to include scholarships for students pursuing careers in STEM, athletics, and other fields. Dozens of children benefited from the fund, using it to attend summer camps, buy equipment, or enroll in specialized programs. Each recipient carried forward Maria's legacy, proving that opportunity could transform lives. After graduating from Juilliard as valedictorian of her class, Maria embarked on a professional career as a concert violinist. She performed in renowned venues across the globe, from Carnegie Hall to the Sydney Opera House, earning standing ovations wherever she went. Critics praised her ability to connect with audiences, describing her music as transcendent and unforgettable. Yet fame didn't change Maria. If anything, it grounded her further. She used her platform to advocate for arts education, speaking at conferences and partnering with organizations to provide resources for underserved communities. One particularly memorable event took place when Maria returned to Maplewood High School as a guest speaker. Standing on the same stage where Principal Grayson had once made light of her aspirations, she addressed the student body with poise and humility. "When I was your age," she began, "I faced moments of doubt, not just from others but from within myself. There were times when I wondered if I belonged here, if I was good enough. But I kept going because I believed in the power of dreams." She spoke. Maria recounted her journey, the struggles, the triumphs, and the lessons she had learned along the way. She emphasized the importance of forgiveness, resilience, and gratitude, urging students to embrace challenges rather than shy away from them. "We all make mistakes," she said, glancing briefly at Principal Grayson, who sat in the front row. "What matters is what we do next. Every setback is an opportunity to grow, to become better versions of ourselves." By the end of her speech, the entire auditorium was on its feet, cheering wildly. Afterward, Principal Grayson approached Maria, his eyes shining with emotion. "Thank you," he said simply, extending his hand. "For everything." Maria shook his hand warmly. "Thank you too, sir," she replied, "for reminding me that we're all capable of change, if we're willing to try." In the years that followed, Maria's impact continued to ripple outward. She founded a non-profit organization dedicated to providing free music lessons and instruments to children in low-income neighborhoods. Named Notes of Hope, the initiative aimed to ensure that no child would ever feel excluded from the world of music due to financial constraints. Through workshops, mentorship programs, and community concerts, Notes of Hope touched thousands of lives, fostering a new generation of artists and dreamers. Maria's story became a beacon of hope, a testament to the idea that greatness could emerge from the most unexpected places. Whether performing on international stages or mentoring a shy teenager holding a battered violin, she remained steadfast in her belief that everyone deserved a chance to shine. And while she had come so far from the girl who once swept floors, in the school auditorium she never forgot the lessons she had learned along the way. That courage could overcome fear, that forgiveness could heal wounds, and that music had the power to unite hearts and minds. Looking back on her journey, Maria realized that it wasn't just about achieving personal success. It was about creating opportunities for others to succeed too. In doing so, she had transformed not only her own life, but the lives of countless others. And as she stood under the spotlight once again, bowing to thunderous applause, she knew that her story was far from over. It was a melody still being composed, a symphony written by the collective efforts of those who dared to dream alongside her. Maria's journey was proof that dreams, no matter how distant they seemed, could be achieved with hard work and determination. As she grew older, her life became a tapestry woven with moments of triumph, resilience, and gratitude. She had traveled the world, performed for audiences who hung on to every note she played, and inspired countless individuals to pursue their passions. Yet, despite all her accomplishments, Maria remained deeply connected to her roots. She often said that her greatest achievements weren't the awards or accolades, but the lives she had touched along the way. Years after graduating from Juilliard, Maria decided it was time to return permanently to her hometown. Her nonprofit organization, Notes of Hope, had grown exponentially, reaching communities across the country. But there was something special about Maplewood, the place where her story began, that called her back. She wanted to focus on nurturing young talent in the very school where she had once been underestimated. With Rosa by her side, Maria set up a permanent music center at Maplewood High School, complete with practice rooms, instruments, and state-of-the-art equipment funded by donations and grants. It was named the Alvarez Music Center, a tribute to Rosa's unwavering support throughout Maria's life. The opening ceremony for the center drew hundreds of people, students, teachers, parents, and local leaders. Even Principal Grayson attended, now retired and walking with a slight limp from age. He stood quietly near the entrance as Maria delivered her speech, his face lined with emotion. "This center isn't just about music," Maria told the crowd, her voice steady yet filled with passion. "It's about believing in yourself when others don't. It's about finding beauty in struggle and creating opportunities out of adversity. And it's about reminding ourselves that everyone has a song inside them. They just need someone to listen." As she spoke, Maria noticed Sophia sitting in the audience, now grown into a confident young woman studying to become a teacher. Next to her sat Lily, the little girl who had written Maria that heartfelt letter years ago, now holding a violin of her own. Seeing them brought tears to Maria's eyes. She realized that her legacy wasn't just in the notes she played, but in the ripple effect of hope and inspiration she had sparked in others. After the ceremony, Principal Grayson approached Maria one last time. They walked together toward the old auditorium, the same place where Maria had found that battered violin so many years ago. The room looked different now. It was brighter, cleaner, and filled with new instruments, but the memories lingered. Grayson paused, his hands clasped behind his back. "You've done incredible things, Maria," he said softly. "Things I never thought possible." Maria smiled, her gaze fixed on the stage. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." "Sir," she replied honestly, "your words hurt me back then, yes, but they also pushed me to prove myself. If anything, I should thank you for showing me what I was capable of overcoming." Grayson shook his head, chuckling ruefully. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, Maria. But if my mistake helped shape the person you are today, then maybe it wasn't entirely wasted." He hesitated, then added, "You've changed this school, this community, and me. I'll carry that with me for the rest of my days." Their conversation ended with a quiet understanding between them, an acknowledgement that people could grow and change, even when they made mistakes. As they left the auditorium, Maria felt a sense of closure wash over her. The past no longer held power over her. Instead, it fueled her desire to keep moving forward. In the months that followed, Maria dedicated herself fully to mentoring students at the Alvarez Music Center. She worked closely with aspiring musicians, helping them navigate challenges similar to those she had faced. Some were shy, hesitant to share their talents. Others struggled with self-doubt, afraid of failure. To each of them, Maria offered the same advice she had given herself. Believe in your music. Believe in your story. You are stronger than you think. One student in particular stood out to Maria, a boy named Ethan who reminded her of herself. His family struggled financially, and he often came to rehearsals wearing worn-out clothes and carrying a second-hand cello. Despite his circumstances, Ethan practiced relentlessly, pouring his heart into every piece he played. When Maria asked him why he loved music so much, he simply said, "It makes me feel like I can fly." That answer resonated deeply with her, and she made it her mission to nurture his talent. Under Maria's guidance, Ethan blossomed. Within 2 years, he earned a scholarship to a prestigious music academy, becoming the first in his family to attend college. On the day he received his acceptance letter, he hugged Maria tightly, tears streaming down his face. "I wouldn't be here without you," he whispered. "Thank you for believing in me." Moments like these reaffirmed Maria's purpose. Though she could have pursued a glamorous career touring the globe, she chose instead to stay close to home, investing in the next generation of dreamers. Her concerts became fundraisers for the center, drawing large crowds eager to support her cause. Each performance was infused with personal stories, connecting her music to the lives of those listening. People left not only entertained, but inspired to chase their dreams, to help others, and to find meaning in their struggles. As the years went by, Maria's relationship with her mother deepened. Rosa, now older and slower moving, took immense pride in everything Maria had accomplished. Together, they spent evenings reminiscing about the early days, how Maria used to practice late into the night, how Rosa would sit quietly nearby, folding laundry while humming along to the melodies. "You always believed in me, Mama," Maria said one evening as they sat on the porch watching the sunset. "Even when I didn't believe in myself." Rosa reached over, squeezing her daughter's hand. "Because I saw your fire, mija. That spark inside you, it was too bright to ignore." Eventually, Maria published a memoir titled The Silent Melody, detailing her journey from the school auditorium to the world stage. The book became an instant bestseller, resonating with readers from all walks of life. Critics praised its honesty and vulnerability, calling it a testament to the transformative power of perseverance. Proceeds from the book went directly to expanding Notes of Hope, ensuring that Maria's impact would continue long after she was gone. On the day of the book's release, Maria returned to the auditorium one final time. This visit was different. It was quieter, more reflective. She stood alone on the stage, the same spot where she had auditioned for the talent show all those years ago. Closing her eyes, she imagined the sounds of her violin filling the room once again. In that moment, she felt a profound sense of peace. She had come full circle, proving not only to herself but to the world that dreams born in silence could resonate louder than anyone imagined. Maria's story became a legend in Maplewood, a reminder that greatness could emerge from the most unlikely places. Generations of students passed through the doors of the Alvarez Music Center, each carrying a piece of her legacy with them. Whether they pursued music professionally or simply carried its lessons into other areas of their lives, they remembered Maria's message, that everyone has a song worth singing. And so Maria's melody lived on, not just in the notes she played, but in the hearts of those she inspired. Her journey taught the world that true success wasn't measured by fame or fortune, but by the ability to lift others up. Through her courage, compassion, and unyielding belief in the power of dreams, Maria Alvarez proved that one person's triumph could light the path for countless others. Her story was a symphony, a harmonious blend of struggle, resilience, and triumph that would echo through time, inspiring generations to dare, to dream, and to soar.